Well, hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday. I hope you're all well. And welcome to Aquarius Rising Africa. And of course, I'm very happy to have back with me Caleb. How are you, Caleb?
I'm here.
I'm very glad that you're here. Thank you for joining us. And I want to just say thank you to all our beautiful guests, our viewers that are here. Always a pleasure to see you guys. But before we go any further, Caleb, will you open for us in prayer?
Heavenly Father, thank you for another day. Thank you for your health. Thank you for answered prayers. Thank you for just goodness, just being God that loves us, gave His Son for us. I ask that you open eyes and you open ears, let people see what they need to see, what you want to show them in Jesus' name. I also ask for protection. Amen.
Amen. Yeah, thank you. We're definitely asking for protection. Vanessa, nice to see you. I wondered if you were going to see us tonight because I know recently you haven't been getting your notifications. So good to see you. Yeah, I definitely think we will be needing some protection tonight. So thank you, everybody. Appreciate you being here. As usual, Caleb is going to be giving us some awesome little, I want to say bomb drops, but that might be not the appropriate term to use. But really just exposing some information tonight, giving us some names of things that he hasn't previously spoken of. So I want to just ask you individually as well, although of course Caleb and myself have prayed for protection, just make sure you guys are well taken care of. So Caleb, yay, what's in store for us tonight?
Well, first of all, it's one of my wolves' birthday. Well, two of them, but I have one sitting with me. 2 years ago yesterday, I got Westy, if you got the picture.
I do indeed, and this is Chief Wolf. All called up. Like a ball of fluff.
Tiny.
Yeah.
He's about the size of my hand right there.
Wow.
And he's almost 25 pounds.
Wow.
So he's 2 years, 3 months old.
Your protector.
My Sphinx. That's how he sits.
Absolutely.
He's on my lap today as a guest of the show.
Sitting like a sphinx. So yay, everybody. Happy birthday, Westy. It's so cute.
We're going to dip into the Chinkhana again, or the underworld. I'm going to name some angels. It's really dangerous to name them. So, again, pray for yourselves and pray for the show. Just getting into the show today, I was dropped 3 different times. So. And that's with the good internet. So, obviously, they don't want this information to come out. I'll say it once again because I know people aren't going to understand. I suffer from essential tremor, which I have a good news report about, by the way. Suffering from essential tremor for the past 4 years. So I have to clench my teeth in order to talk. So I'm not drunk and I'm not swearing, just so you know. I wish I was drunk sometimes, but today isn't one of them. As for the good news is the tremor, it has started to die down. So that's a really good report.
Absolutely. That is very good news indeed. We're very grateful to have you with us again. And thank you for being here.
The only thing I can attribute it to is your guys' prayers, because I didn't do anything to change anything. It just started to diminish yesterday. big time. I mean, it was bad for a couple of weeks. Now it's not. So prayer does work.
Absolutely.
So where do we begin?
Well, you've got so much new information for us tonight, it seems. So where do you want to begin? Should we begin with the first one, the first image or do you want to give some background?
Well, if you haven't seen the show already, it's about what we were sent to look for back in the day. Back in the day for me was 30-something years ago now. I read some of these things in old books, old grimoires, but I never, I guess, believed it, lack of a better term. It's like reading 1 + 1 = 2, but you don't believe it until you try it. To put it simply. And these are the living ships, a race of angels that are mechanical in design and shape and function, but they're alive. They have an AI that is alive. It's self-aware. And it did come from God's Spirit, I think. It's just technology. I hate to say just technology, but it's definitely alive. And I call them the living ships, for lack of a better term, because they don't just appear as a flying saucer or a sailboat or a bird or a chariot of fire. Where have we heard that before? Chariots of fire. Well, when the chariots of fire were described, it wasn't just a chariot being pulled by horses. It was a chariot riding on top of flaming creatures. It had a horse-like appearance. So a lot is lost in translation, and even more is lost with lack of context. Does you want to show that first one? And maybe spell the name on the screen if you can.
Okay, will do.
Now you've seen this before. We've seen this before with the Leadership Show.
And I'm going to spell it there in the chat, guys. So it's Penamu. That's the name of that. Yeah.
He's one of the ones that conspired with Shemyaza. But he is not a watcher. He's one of their ships. Now, this Penamu has the stated ability to travel through time, forward or backward. He can't influence time, but he can definitely travel it. You hear that in the book of Esdras. Esdras is the Arabic term for Enoch. I told you guys last time I became a card-carrying Muslim for the sake of getting into their culture. I was a Sufi Muslim, S-U-F-I. I'm kind of the pagan ones. I kind of like the Muslims in this order. The Shiites are like the Pentecostal Christians. The Sunnis are like the evangelicals. And the Sufis are like the Catholics. They're very pagan in that order. What Penamu did was to transport Enoch into the future to see what was going to happen at the end. He did this under the guise of being under God's orders, which is debatable in other books. But that's what that looks like.
Wow.
So now you know Penamu. And again, I don't often give names because it is dangerous to name them. That's called invocation.
Right.
The other thing I don't want to do, and the reason why I showed a dark picture, is because I don't want you to see them as beautiful or as good, because they are not. Questions? I'm sure there's millions.
Okay, let me just go up a bit here. Okay, sorry, I want to just go through the questions here.
Penemu does not mean invocation. That's the angel's name. And please don't make me say it more. If you say their name, you will invoke them.
Duke, is that the wheel in the wheel with eyes all around? I want to say yes, right?
Yes.
Okay, who or what do the living ships transport? Tanya, I'll put that up.
Well, angels are very similar to us. They're not winged creatures that fly around in the heavens. They have to use vehicles just like we do. They live a much longer life than us if they're fallen. If they're still in God's kingdom, they've been granted immortality. Which means they won't die like we do. Doesn't mean they can't die. It just means that they don't die like we do in a short time.
Right. Cool. Can demons masquerade as crows? Interesting question.
They would want to masquerade as crows, but they might be able to influence them like they can influence other things.
Right.
Let's go to the next image.
Okay.
There's another one, another time travel angel named Ramael.
Okay, shall I write the name?
Yes. And these are the order of angels we talked about in the angel video, known as Ophanim. I just want to spell that.
Yeah, I'll spell it in the chat. I think I know how. Ophanim, right? Is it num or N-I-M? N-I-M at the end.
I'll spell it.
Okay.
It's Ophanim.
Okay.
Okay, to answer Colleen's question about God's angels or the fallen, they're one and the same. They come from the same orders. They come from heaven. Some just rebelled against God. Like I said, context is everything. And you have to understand that this is all God's creation. There isn't a separate creation anywhere. The fallen can't create. They can only subvert and duplicate. Duplication is not the same as creation, just so you know. Angels are not their name or their race. Angel means messenger. So even a human being could be called an angel if you technically get down to it. I've given their races to you already: the seraphim, the cherubim, the ophanim, etc. They have specific races. That's not the point of the video, though.
I just want to remind people that if you guys haven't seen Caleb's previous shows on Angels, I think it was called Angels and Demons, if I'm not mistaken. It is in the playlist where we do go through the different types of angels, archangels, that sort of stuff. So if anyone hasn't seen that, it is in the playlist as well. So please go check it out. Yeah.
All right. And these, for lack of a better term, I'll continue to say angels. Some are still on God's side. 1/3 of them are not on God's side. They're not demons. They're fallen angels. The ones you know as demons are called the Rephaim. That's the dead. Nephilim. Not Nephilim. Nephilim. Remember, there's a difference in the name.
Yeah.
And if you haven't noticed, there's an awful lot in semantics that you miss.
Yes. Maybe you can just tell us.
Real clear. Fallen angels are bad. Good angels are good. They're not fallen from God yet. Fallen angels are evil. I don't know how much more I can explain that.
Good. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about this one that's on?
No. Just remember, I know an awful lot more than I ever let on here, so don't assume that I don't know what I'm talking about.
Is there a comment to that effect that I haven't seen?
No, I'm just saying.
Right. Okay.
We can go to the next. These 2 angels and 8 others give us access to the 10 realms of heaven that we can access. They did this using 9 masks that they had for their whoever was driving the ship or riding in the taxi, so to speak. Those 9 kings were put in Tartarus and stripped of their armor, their masks, their armor, their weapons, and they were put in chains for what they did to humanity in terms of pollution and introducing sin. And by sin, I mean the cutting of roots, spell crafting, magic, the art of warfare, etc. That gets into murky waters because of the B'nai Elohim. I'm not going to do a word study on any of that here today. Anything you want to say?
No, I'm just looking at that. It's actually, so I want to just make sure I've understood that correctly. So basically, these 2 the ships, Penemu and Ramael, are given access to the 10 heavenly realms. Those ships give you access. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and they also give you access to time itself.
Right. So that I would imagine is time travel. So you can go back in time. Can they change events from the past?
No, that's sounds so easy to say yes or no to, but that's not something that's hard to, it's easy to explain.
Manipulate.
It gets too much into the teaching of what to do. I'm hesitant to do that.
Someone wants to know if I understand. So we're going to move along.
They can
Someone
lure
wants
you away with something, get you caught in a time loop, and you'll live that same time loop like Groundhog Day until your physical body dies.
put you in a time loop.
Yeah.
Someone wants to know, are the fallen angels still bound in chains?
Not
Freedom lover.
all the fallen angels. There's only 200 watchers who are bound.
Okay,
in
the watchers
Tartarus.
are bound.
And there's a few
Right.
others that are mentioned as well in the Euphrates and other places. There's a lot more than 200 fallen angels. They're talking on the order of hundreds of billions of fallen angels. And think about it. There's got to be more than 600 angels in heaven.
Of course.
If 1/3 fell.
Not sure if you've, I'm not really sure what this is. Haptic drift from Vanessa, yeah.
The armor I'm talking about is hard to describe, but it is definitely armor. It's physical, it's real. It interfaces with your body, it injects things into you. And you suddenly become enhanced when you put this stuff on. And I, being foolish, decided to try the mask on every time. And I had one thing attached to my left arm, a gauntlet. Very painful. I couldn't get it off till we got to the surface. That's what we found in one adventure into one particular cave, which we'll get to, but maybe not today. As a result of that, I've had to not just detox from everything else that I went through, but from that as well. And I have black looking threads coming out of my face. My face, my neck, my back, my chest, my arm.
Is it, someone's asking if you know what that is, Lanessa, again, why? The copper or the memory in our blood? Bubbles to the chains and the Euphrates. Not sure
You
if
can't just go do this yourself. At least not if you really want to. You have to be chosen to do this. You have to be picked out. You have to be deemed as somebody who can do it.
They choose you.
They choose you.
Yeah.
And to get to the point where they choose you, you have to show aptitude. And it doesn't just have to do with Rh negative blood, by the way. They're just looking for human DNA in general.
Cool. Should we go on to the next one?
Sure. Now, there's lots of conjecture on this point, but in most of the ancient writings that have been correctly interpreted, Noah's Ark was shaped like a pyramid. It wasn't a boat like you think, like a sailboat. Chosen for its stability and its capacity. That kind of ruins some paradigm stuff, so.
Was there any other significance just in terms of the pyramids, you know, obviously being shaped the way it is and harnessing energy in the way that it does?
Think of the numbers 4, 3, 2, the Fibonacci spiral, that whole mathematical paradigm.
Right. Wow. Okay. You want the next one? You're still busy, yeah?
Any questions, or do you have anything to say?
No, it makes a lot of sense with the Fibonacci numbers. Just seeing if there's anything.
Well,
Yes.
without getting into a huge technical discussion about the pyramids, they all are symmetrical. They all have a certain height, they have a certain amount of stones in them, and they use energy conduits or transmitters. That's not what Noah's Ark was doing. He just built the ark like a pyramid. If that was afloat on water, let's say, and there's some debate on whether or not that was really water, do you think you can get that to tip over no matter how big a wave you hit it with? Be pretty stable. And internally, the volume would be huge. You could put a lot of creatures in there.
Wow.
There's a ton of stuff to say about any of these things. I'm just touching on this briefly. And as simply as I can put it, just because it's, some of this is hard to wrap your head around. It depends on what you mean by stargates, answering that question. There are gates or portals, and then there are stargates. It's like two different things going on.
Right.
Let's go to the next. The supposed ark that they found has been found numerous times by numerous people, and I think it was pareidolia, to be honest with you. And they may have found parts of this structure because it was made of wood, but I couldn't rightly say I wasn't there to see it. So
Did the Great Flood bury everything? Pretty much, right?
pretty much destroyed the entire world.
Yeah.
Again, there's debates about that as well. It depends on which flood you're talking about. The Great Flood, and there's a lot of other ones that go beyond that. Fibonacci is what Fibonacci is. It's a rendition of a spiral. It's a rendition of what you have in your own
Fibonacci
brain.
is the inversion of the cross.
It is a representation of your third eye, your resonance chamber, for lack of a better term.
So I think your question has been answered there.
Again, each and every one of these pictures represents something very complicated and deep. We couldn't possibly cover this in one show. We would have to go for show after show after show for hours. Cool. Do you want to go to the next?
Ready for the next? Yeah.
Okay, that's a representation of a modern computer chip. The thing I want you to look at is the color. What does that look like to you?
Rainbow. Chakra colors. Rainbow colors.
It's a rainbow. is also described in other beliefs as the Bifrost, or the connecting bridge between God and spirit. We're not God and spirit, God and the physical. It is also the heavenly transportation system. We've talked about stargates and whatnot. This is one of the ways that you can access that is through this integrated circuit. Think about what that says. It's integrated with you, or whatever it means. The computer or the phone you're looking at right now is called an interface. Use the haptic screen, touch screen, to access the information that is routed through this circuit called a GUI, or a graphical user interface. So think about that. I mean, you guys are using ancient technology, ancient magic right now. And what they're pushing for is to transmutate humans so we don't need this bridge anymore. So we just step into the third heaven or the fifth heaven, depending on which book you look at.
Wow.
Any comment from you?
Yeah, I have a question around that. I don't know if any of the guys watched the show I did with Jesse the other day on the closing of the Paris Olympics. I actually want to just ask your take on that. I'm not sure if you actually saw that, but the Golden Voyager, they called him, that golden thing that landed on the stage with the spiky everything. So when I researched what that was about, like what did that mean? What was the intention of the producers, right? What they said was that Earth, there's a golden disc that contains all the knowledge of humanity that is contained within this disc. And that disc was thrown out into outer space for the aliens. So the aliens have now taken that disc, understood everything about humanity, and have now integrated humanity with the aliens. And this Golden Voyager arrives on Earth, and that's the representation or the manifestation, I guess, of the perfectly integrated being between humans and aliens. So that's what that whole thing represented. So I'm wondering, it sounds pretty similar to what this is about, right? That they don't need that bridge anymore. It's now just kind of stepping into that realm.
Right. And I'll tell you again what I told you when we talked about this before about us and what we are in terms of power and the way we see the world or integrate with the world the way it was supposed to be. We are fearfully and wonderfully made, and that's putting it simply. For those of you that feel worthless out there, all of the rare earth metals and radioactive isotopes and chemicals and things that you can't find anywhere else besides the human body, and they can't synthesize some of this stuff, is worth about $600 billion. That's your personal worth in terms of money. And that was 25 years ago when I researched that fact. And it is a fact. $600 billion. So you are worth way more than you give yourself credit for, just in terms of physical wealth. And that's why they try to dumb you down. They try to lie to you. They try to get you to believe anything but that truth. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. And something that you don't know as well, and people just put this away like it's nothing. You are a exothermic, biodynamic, nuclear reaction generator, converting simple matter into complex energy. It's even more complicated than that. Well, look, we have to mention the states of matter first. Do you know the first state?
No,
Could be any order.
no,
The
actually, no.
first state of matter is solids. The second state of
Yeah,
matter is gases. The third state of matter is liquid. And there's a fourth state of matter too. The fourth state of matter is plasma. Where do we find that word? A lot.
blood.
Couple sources. You find it in blood. You find it in the sun. You find it in the auroras. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Plasma, or your blood, and why they want your blood so much is because it's liquid light. It's just on a different frequency that you can see, and it doesn't blind you. If you could see in the infrared, you'd see it very differently in the way that it functions and works. And that's where God meets us here, is through that plasma, by transferring energy into your system. It regulates every cell in your body and causes you to function. And it keeps the balance with the electrohydrodynamic forces that try to tear you apart using electromagnetics. It's not simple. It's not something that I could explain in an hour. And in fact, a good lot of that probably went right over your heads. And that's okay. I'm just going to tell you, every time I hear somebody say, I'm worthless, I'm not worth a thing, I'm saying, bullshit. I know exactly how much you're worth. Every one of us is worth that much.
Wow. Yeah.
On the plasma level, there is something miraculous happening that keeps us alive. It's a transfer of matter into energy. Almost pure energy. I mean, think about how much food you've eaten. And if it wasn't efficient, you would have to eat a heck of a lot more. And it keeps you running smoothly and without problems until mutation steps in and starts to destroy your body. Now, simple biology would explain that. Simple science would explain that. I didn't come at it from either direction. I came at it as a master alchemist. The origin of science. The alchemical principles of creation itself are found in what I just told you. And that's why I mentioned the Fibonacci circle. Not circle, but spiral. I'll answer another question that people have been dying to know. And I haven't been willing to put out there forthrightly because you just wouldn't get it understood the way you could by now listening to me. I've told you about the cube, the Hermetic cube, and cubical magic, right?
Yeah.
I'm asking you, Chantelle.
Yes, you did.
I've told you about the person, the pine cone.
Yes.
Okay, they have to hold that cube in that bag or it'll kill them, even the gods. The pine cone is representative of your pineal gland. It's a map of your pineal gland. They put it that way so that we could understand that. So that you could step into up to the third heaven out of your own physical body even today.
Wow.
That's what the person, the pine cone are all about. And the tree they represent is just the different pathways you can take on that pine cone. It's a map, an instruction manual, if you don't know what that is.
Wow. Super interesting. I mean, this is information they're keeping away from us, right? This is the type of stuff that we've been dumbed down from.
Correct. They needed us to take over here because they're not human. They're a little bit higher than us. But they needed a human to be in agreement and to willingly give up our birthright, our regency, our kingship, our stewardship. They needed us to be just enough human to be able to say yes to God or no to God.
Wow.
They needed us to make a free will choice to surrender that to them and give them that power. That's why they needed the bodies, the homunculi, the hybrids, all that. At the end of the day, they just want to find a way to keep living outside of God because they know destruction is coming. They just know it. And Duko, I just answered that. Handbag is holding the cube.
Very interesting. And it's interesting what you say, which I've never really thought about before, but it makes perfect sense. They had to keep us dumb enough to believe we need them, right? But smart enough that we can still make a free will and choice, right?
Correct.
So they've kind of like tempering with that for a while.
At the end of the day, they're after what we would consider wealth to us is power for them. That is their wealth, is power.
Right.
That's what they desire. They desire worship. And that's not just coming out of the Judeo-Christian background. It's coming from all different world religions. At the end of the day, they want you to give them that power. Because you're going to be nothing but a Duracell battery for them.
Absolutely. I think we've done enough shows on, well, not shows, but it's been mentioned a number of times by you in other shows about the soul engines and stuff like that. I think by now we know that there's great danger in all sorts of things. They sneak in everywhere. You think something's good, and the next minute, boom. So, wow.
Again,
now like never
before. Goes back to electromagnetism and how that functions within our body. If we didn't have electromagnetism, we would fall into dust, literal stardust.
Right. So are you saying we come from the stars?
We come from God, and it's His creation.
Yeah. Or created from the stars is probably a more appropriate word to use.
You're made from dust. It doesn't just mean dust from the floor here. It means from the universe itself.
Right.
He made something from nothing. And the
Yeah.
reversal of that order, and one of the reasons why we die is because we need that matter to make energy when it should be the other way around. We should regenerate all the time instead of degenerating. That was part of the curse.
Right.
If you don't understand that.
Yes.
We were sentenced to die and condemned to time. So that regeneration reversed.
So
everybody wants to talk about the Bible. The Bibles say, and I say Bibles because there's a lot of interpretations of this out there. How God won't strive with us but in 120 years. Most people don't understand or realize he wasn't talking about humanity in general. He was talking about the Nephilim. He gave them a timeline to the day that they're going to be destroyed. He also gave that to the fallen races of angels.
So would you say then that they really, this whole process that we're experiencing right now is part of them trying to devolve us in a way?
Well, devolving is a good way to put it, but it's not just to make us dumb. It's to steal our power. That's what they consider as wealth. They use gold as a way to transmutate humans on more than one level. I mean, think about it. If I threw a 10-pound gold bar in front of you, what would you do with that? If gold is almost $4,000 an ounce, that's a lot of money sitting in front of you. And that's the only thing you would think of.
Right.
So there they subvert your mind right there with wealth. That 10-pound gold bar will give you power in the form of, it'll make a lot of people jump as high as you want them to jump if you say so. There's your power concept. And then they can interface with your primary water, dun dun dun, your plasma.
Yes.
Steal your life, your soul.
Wow. And that keeps us, and they know exactly how to keep us on that. It's almost like a precipice, right? Humanity, they keep us on that precipice of giving us hope, because I also believe that they cash in on our hope. You know, the one thing that human beings have is hope, but they'll give us hope, like dangling that carrot, and then boom, they'll rip it away from you. Dangle that carrot, boom, rip it away, right? So to me, it's almost like they saying, you know, as the parents, I mean, you know, they think they're older than us. They are an ancient race, obviously, or many of them, that kind of control humanity, right? Or they're trying to. So they just keep us in that place where we want more. We're not ready to give up our independence, but we want it, but we don't want it. They know exactly how to play that, don't they?
Right. I mentioned in the Arbitel teaching about intention. Intention is everything in the spirit world. It's a very legalistic way of living. But if we didn't have rules, we'd have chaos. Yes. I thank God for rules. With no rules, we wouldn't have anything that God did for us that does for us. We would fly off the earth in any direction, whether it's a ball or a disc. I don't believe we're living on a frisbee.
No. Wow. Super interesting. That's for sure.
Is there another one? Another picture?
Yep. Let me haul them up. Okay. There's that one. Living ships.
That's a modern day picture of one of the living ships. They're either piloted by a fallen angel itself or by a homunculi, a biological android.
Wow.
That was in 2017 when they took that picture.
Wow.
And again, these ships can morph into any shape. It doesn't just have to be a disc or look like an airplane. It can be looking like a kite. It can look like a spinning wheel within a wheel. If it shows you its true form, you will feel your shorts. Just to put it bluntly, without cussing again. Try not to cuss like a Marine here.
You're doing well. You're good. Oh, wow.
Just remember that what they use for the propulsion systems is red matter or red mercury. They create a gravity well, for lack of a better term. And they don't propel themselves through the air. They fall through the air in the direction of the warp or the heavier side of the gravity well that they create. And you will look like nothing around you. The light will bend all the way around you, and you'll seem to disappear. You didn't disappear anywhere. You just went into a gravity lens, for lack of a better term. It gets a lot more technical than that, for sure. It has to do with a resonance chamber and a high-speed spin on the red matter to create this lens. That's how they do that. There are other people who describe the same features and functions as well. That is what I learned on my own about red matter. I didn't learn it in 1 hour like you guys are learning here. It took me 20 years. A lot of looking, a lot of going into these caverns and caves. I know we didn't talk much about the caves and caverns today, but that's what we were after, is these living ships. That was the whole point and purpose. They were first described in a public way in 1957, and they were first seen in 1954. So think about how long ago that's been. Before then, as a matter of public record, they were, I think it was 1938 or 39.
Wow. Duke's asking again, what powers that ship? A soul gem or soul engine?
Some of them are powered under their own weight or their own power. And by weight, I mean their own gravity. Others are powered by soul gems.
Right.
Every time I say gems, I think you would think they look like a quartz crystal or something. No, crystals come in a lot of different forms. Again, look at your screen that you're staring at. There's a liquid crystal matrix you're staring at. It creates colors. It's bioluminescent, for lack of a better term. And it creates moving shapes. Out of nothing. Again, think of that. Think of how amazing that is. Out of thin air. It's taking input from someplace and rendering it so that your eyes can pick it up and see it.
It's true. It's true. Wow.
And again, they couldn't recover these things without having humans who were born or bred to go into these caves and find these things of their own free will. I had to agree to a lot of things to get to that point. And I was not the only one that did it. There are other teams out there. Even today, there are other teams out there doing this.
Does each team member actually know what they're doing? When you say they have to agree, I can understand that. Do they actually know what they're doing, or what they kind of letting themselves in for? You can never tell them exactly, I get it. But do they have an idea?
Well, just to be blunt, I would hope so. If they didn't know what they were doing, I don't know how they got onto my team, because I demanded they knew what they were doing.
Right. Or where they were going, though. I mean, in terms of like the missions they were going on, were they fully briefed?
a lot of that stuff is on a need-to-know basis.
Right.
And as you need to know, I would tell you, just like I've done here.
Yeah, we know about your need to know.
There's a lot more information to talk about. I'm not being stingy with it. I'm trying to show you in a way that you can understand. Well, a year ago, you asked me to show you like a kindergartner or a first grader. How many grades above a first grader are there?
There's quite a few. So no, and I agree with you. It's good, you know. And for those people who do have issues with Caleb not spilling the beans or unmasking or whatever it is, if we go back and we like listen to the shows now, and you actually go back and re-listen to some of the stuff, it starts making perfect sense. You start seeing how it all fits in. And I agree, it's bite-sized chunks. You can eat that elephant one bite at a time, right?
Right.
So,
do you have any more pictures?
I do indeed. There is. Oh, that's actually the last one. But I have this one actually, what I want to maybe just show. We were speaking about it, I think, on the last show, with the petroglyphs and stuff. And we were speaking about Namibia, the petroglyphs in Namibia. Guys, this is an overview of that the river. It's called the dam, actually, the Neckartal Dam. That's look at that's the dragon petroglyphs that are there. Look at the shape of that, and all Namibia is a desert country, okay, and all of these rivers come together here at the Neckartal Dam. It's apparently 3 times the size of the normal dam. It floods all the time. It's apparently extremely temperamental, this particular dam, and it's got caves and things or holes, I don't even know what you call them, that just go on like forever. No one, there is no end. And I just find it very interesting that it's very dragon looking. Caleb, what do you say about that?
Well, the flood waters came out of the sky and they came out of the ground. Natural springs, for lack of a better term. So this could be one of those places where the water came out.
Right.
Especially when a lot of people are disappearing there.
Yeah.
There's another one that you can look up if you want, called, I think it's in Tanzania, called the Nyiragongo volcano.
Right.
Heard of that?
I have.
It's a volcano that spews hot mud, hot sulfurous mud. So in my humble opinion, that's one cave they're still pumping out for whatever reason. And that's the exit. It's been continuously flowing for since anyone can remember.
Wow.
By flowing, I mean erupting.
Cool. Well, that's all the pictorials we have for today. So let me just see if there's anything in the comments that's coming in. Okay, let me just see. Sorry, I'm just scrolling through here to see for some pictures. I mean, not pictures. Questions, if there's any questions. Okay, okay, guys, I'm just skimming through here. What are the volcanoes actually, Caleb?
Well, I hear it on Good Rumor Authority, we'll just put it that way, that they're the ancient forges of the giants, not the 12-foot giants. I'm talking to the ones that are 60, 70, 80 feet or more. That's where they forged some of their buildings from, for lack of a better term.
Wow.
Think of Cyclopean architecture. Think of Baalbek.
Right.
One block of Baalbek is 800 tons. We couldn't
Wow.
hope to lift that today. And they lifted hundreds of those stones.
Wow.
They were able to transform or transmutate stone to be like putty and re-solidify it.
Wow. I just find it interesting because, you know, when we're looking at the volcanoes active and what have you, it's such a phenomena, right? Really, for most people to see that, especially. So, what you're saying then is it possible that when the volcanoes are erupting, that they're busy doing shenanigans down under somewhere?
You see a lot of UAPs come out of volcanoes, or as they used to be known, UFOs.
Wow. There's like something, and I don't know if anyone else knows, yeah, bentonite clay, which I'm just intrigued by because apparently it's a health product and it's very good for all sorts of things, absorbing toxins out of the body and stuff like that. But it's supposedly made from the ash from volcanoes. So I'm just wondering.
There'll be some pushback, I'm sure, about me saying anything about the volcanoes like that. Think of how much other things they've lied to us about. How much they try to obscure and tell us that this isn't this and that isn't that. The number one thing they try not to let you know is how powerful you are. Let's go back into that for a second. To the rare earth metals, radioactive isotopes, and different things that are found in your body and nowhere else. Not just your body, but every human. I am 297 pounds, whatever that is in kilograms. With the nuclear material in my body, if it were to go critical and either have a fission reaction, which is a splitting apart, or a fusion reaction, which is a collapsing in, there'd be enough thermonuclear energy to destroy the whole entire city of New York. In fact, the fireball would be so big that it would have a 20-mile complete destruction radius. 20 miles from me, maybe even more. That's just the estimate. So I'm not going to say, I'm powerful. Don't crush me or split me apart. Be enough destructive potential to destroy a major city, no problem. And by total annihilation, I mean it would vaporize that whole city.
Wow.
So what do you think of that?
Wow. I mean, I know we spoke about that a little bit earlier. I kind of had to wrap my head around that. And it's so true because that's kind of why the Vatican owns us all and why they really are going to such extremes to not leave us alone. You know, why not just leave us to go extinct? But yeah, we are. And as you say, worth billions of dollars. That's incredible.
Say, again, if I can actually get it to tongue twister, especially if I'm trying to speak live in public, but you are a thermonuclear, biodynamic, electromagnetic, thermogenic reactor. And by yourself, I know it's cold there because it's winter for you, so you're freezing. By yourself, just sitting in a room, you generate about 19,000 BTUs of heat every minute of your life. Every minute. It's got to come from somewhere.
Right. Wow. Give that a thought. Wow. That's amazing.
So if you feel powerless, I'm going to disagree with you. You're absolutely powerful. Don't let them lie to you.
Time to take our power back, that's for sure.
Right.
That's for sure. Okay, this question we have on there, why some people have spontaneously combusted. Any comment on that?
I would have to say that's a possibility. I mean, look at all the, let's say this again, the copy of 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 the copy. There's going to be some errors in that code. And think of this, the spiral of your DNA makeup. Why is it a spiral? Because it's constantly moving. Nothing in nature ever stays static and still. It's always moving. You're in a constant state of motion. Constant. Look at your heartbeat. Look at the way that you walk around. Look at your balance, the way that you balance. That's just us. It's just the way that we are. It's the way we were made.
Perfect. We made perfect.
And I would have to say, too, the way that they, and I'm going to say this always in retort to this supposition, angels didn't have sex with women to make their creations. They genetically altered the woman's seed. Genetic alteration. It's like rewriting computer code. To reprogram my laptop, I don't have to have sex with it. I just get onto its interface and change its code. Think about that. That takes us into the real. What real is.
Yeah.
So I've mentioned two different things that we're going to talk about soon. That's primary water. I'll say it dramatically. Primary water. And
primary water. Vro. If you're South African, you can say the vro. We like to roll our R's.
And why they were looking for these things. They did some things that we're doing today.
Wow.
They did that back in the 30s, beginning in the 20s, I think, where they got their information from. But that's a show for another day, I guess.
And we look forward to all these future shows. So you all better be hanging around, because we haven't even begun to scratch the surface yet. Right?
Right.
Nice. Look forward to that. Thank you, Caleb. Okay, well, I'm not sure if there's anything. I think we'll call it a day for today. And God willing, we will see you for Patreon on Saturday with Caleb. So please just watch the notifications and stuff from me, Patreon, and I'll generally post stuff anyway on the other platforms to let you know. But so far, so good. We are planning a Patreon gathering for Saturday night, again, same time, 7 o'clock my time, which is the same time that we started tonight, which is an hour and a quarter earlier than what your time is now, wherever in the world you are. So thank you, every beautiful person, for joining us. Caleb, is there anything you want to say before ending off for us in prayer?
No, I'm glad that I've had Rusty and Pepper for 2 years. They're my family, so couldn't live without them. Again, it's a good praise report for the tremor and what's happening with the tremor. Normally by now, I would be just racked with tremors. And I would go like that for the rest of today. But even now, it's diminishing. That's way, way earlier than it would have. So prayer does work. And I thank you guys for having faith that there's healing.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's a pleasure to walk this path with you, Caleb. And thank you for what you do and what you share with us. And I know that I speak.
I'm getting the Chihuahua stare from Westy.
The Sphinx stare.
And he's staring at me because Pepper's in the kennel and he wants me to go let him out.
Oh, shame. Okay. Well, then we're gonna let you go very soon. So, anything else? Just that? No more? Yeah.
And there's lots to talk about. I'm sure there's more questions than any answers that came today, just like always. We'll see where we go next.
Indeed.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, I thank you for the gift of knowledge and the gift of wisdom to be able to speak to people. You know, I'm not much of a speaker, but you are through me, and I appreciate the fact that you use me, and you also use these other good people here. We're not good in and of ourselves, we're good only because of you. We find our life and our existence in your hands. And I thank you so much for that. I thank you that you've given me these beautiful dogs, and I get a chance to raise them and be their dad. It's a blessing and a privilege. I ask that you bless everybody that's here and listening and who will listen to this later. That their eyes be open so that they can see the majesty of your plan, the redemption you offer through your Son Jesus, and the covering of your blood, won by sacrifice. I thank you so much that you loved us enough to do that for us, and you made a way open and straight for us. I ask you to protect us and keep us safe. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate you all for joining us and supporting the show. And again, big thank you to the Patreons for being the nuts and the bolts of error. Look forward to seeing you guys on Saturday, as I said. So please watch this space. Watch this space. Tomorrow got Catherine Edwards on 1:30 my time on solutions, and then Leo Zagami again tomorrow evening at 6:00. Look forward to seeing you all on Saturday.
I got to do this.
What? That is so unfair. Just when I was on my roll, you squeaked me. I'm definitely ending this call right now. Bye, everybody. Wait, hang on. It's going to take a while. Still got to find the right place. So I've got to be sulking here on air for a bit still while you're squeaking me. Squeak. Bye, everybody.